when I say the U.S. economy is fake, it's far more than just the AI bubble that is fake. But even New York Times understands that this is a bubble. Here's a headline from them. The next economic bubble is here. OpenAI is worth more than Goldman Sachs. Here's what that means for the economy. Now, I did not read the whole article. I'm sure they get it wrong because that's what they do. That's what they're in charge of. They're in charge of getting things wrong. They are one of the most read getting things wrong outlets that's out there. So they should be quite proud of that. I mean, they should really, there's not a lot of other people that get things as wrong as they do on such a large scale. So good for them. Good for them. But anyway, here's a post from Metaverse. The entire U.S. economy right now is 7 companies sending $1 trillion back and forth to each other. And they show images and charts of what this is. This is OpenAI is one of the larger ones. You've got NVIDIA, that is the largest company in the world right now. NVIDIA now over $5 trillion market cap. They were the first to cross over $4 trillion market cap a few months ago. And then they've already gained $1 trillion. Can you begin to comprehend what $1 trillion is? If you make $40,000 a year after taxes, it would take you 25 million years to make $1 trillion. 25 million years. And that's what NVIDIA's market cap gained in 3 months. NVIDIA, as Ben Norton said, is like the people that sold the shovels to the gold miners. Most gold miners, even during the gold mining boom in the United States, most of them did not make money. But you know who did reliably make crazy money? The people selling the shovels and the pans, probably the landlords of the places they needed to live to do that. Those are the ones that make money. The guys selling the shovels. NVIDIA is selling the shovels. This chart is showing how each of these companies, XAI, Intel, AMD, are just sending money back and forth to each other. It says, a few weeks ago, Bloomberg wrote an article entitled OpenAI, NVIDIA fuel $1 trillion AI market with web of circular deals. According to the article, never before has so much money been spent so rapidly on a technology that for all its potential remains largely unproven as an avenue for profit making. It will make a lot of profit. This is not like, MySpace or something. It's not going to go the way of MySpace where they're like, it looked like everybody was going to hang out there and now they're not. No, AI is going to change a lot of the way our society works. Could do that in a good way. Most of the time, it seems like it's going to do that in a bad way. Now, whether that equals money for the companies that are not just building the shovels, that's yet to be told in many ways. Let's just tear apart the idea that Tesla could be worth so much money it can pay Elon Musk $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Tesla has voted to pay Elon Musk $1 trillion, $1 trillion with a T, over 10 years if he reaches certain, if Tesla reaches certain points of market cap as they go along. $1 trillion fucking dollars. Totally insane. But here's Ben Norton. He wrote, the U.S. economy is not real. It's just a big billionaire Ponzi scheme. 75% of Tesla shareholders approved a $1 trillion pay package. Tesla made, drumroll please, $7.13 billion in net income in 2024. $7.3 billion. They're going to pay Elon Musk $1 trillion. That math doesn't seem to add up, does it? It's because the stock market is a fairy tale. It is not actually based on things that are actually sold. It's based on the idea of how much you think something might be worth, how much you think Tesla stock is worth. To stock, in the way it works now in our stock market, is the dictionary definition of a Ponzi scheme. Ben Norton concludes, this is so stupid it defies basic math and reality itself. So Tesla shareholders report $1 trillion. And here's an income statement from Tesla. Net profit was $7.2 billion in 2024. And this last chart is total revenues versus net income for Tesla. Almost $100 billion total revenue. Problem is net income at the end of that is, they don't have numbers on this, but it looks like about in 2023, it was probably about 17 billion net income. And then last year, I just said that 7 billion net income. Relative to the amount of money they're bringing in, they're barely profitable. But outside of that, let's just get out of how insane Tesla is. Tesla is worth more than the following 4 car makers combined, like Ford and Chevy. I don't know, maybe they own each other. I can't remember. They're all jacking each other up. I can't remember who's in whose mouth. You ever been there? You're at a party, you're like, I don't know who's in my mouth right now. That's what the big car companies are. But anyway, they're worth more. Tesla's, or was worth, and probably close to it now, worth more than the following 4 car makers combined, including Toyota, which makes like 10 times as many cars, or maybe it's more than that, than Tesla does. So outside of Tesla and the insanity of Tesla, outside of the AI bubble and the insanity of that, we need to remember, and I've done segments on this before, but people don't like it. They don't like to think that this is how the system works. But the stock market as it stands now is a dictionary definition of a Ponzi scheme. It is the SEC's definition of a Ponzi scheme. The SEC, right, is supposed to regulate Wall Street. Fucking don't do it. That is how our stock market works. It is not directly correlated to how much a company makes or builds or puts out, or even the profit they make, right? OpenAI is quote unquote worth more than Goldman Sachs. OpenAI is losing billions of dollars and will lose billions of dollars next year and is on slate to lose billions of dollars in 2026. AI and OpenAI is so important that the government will have to step in and make sure that it can't go bankrupt. Basically, they were publicly calling, although using slightly different words, that they're too big to fail because they see the writing on the wall. They know that this bubble could burst and OpenAI would be completely bust. Who knows what would happen with it? And so they're kind of publicly saying, hey, Donald Trump, if we want to compete with China, when this all goes belly up, you're going to have to save us, because the big companies love fucking socialism. Oh, they love socialism when it's needed to save their companies, when it's needed to save the massive banks that would have gone belly up in 2008. When it's saving all of these too big to fail parasite institutions. Most of these companies don't make anything to the level of what they're so-called worth on the stock exchange. And you'd say that the only thing that you could, that people would try to point to it not being the dictionary definition of a Ponzi scheme is, well, a Ponzi scheme requires lying. It requires fraud. It requires the people at the top to not explain the truth of the situation. I don't think these companies are explaining the truth. You think Tesla gets on their earnings calls and goes, hey, guys, this is crazy. We don't make anywhere near the amount of money that stock market says we're worth. It's fucking nuts. No, of course not. They're lying. They're lying about how well they're going to do. Even when things are going worse, like when Elon Musk was cratering their stock, they got on phone calls and said, yeah, we're doing fine and we're going to come back, and all. They lied their asses off. The other thing that we need to point out is a lot of people think that you invest in a company and they then give you a percentage of the money they make. But that's called dividends, and it's not done nearly as much as it used to be. It's done occasionally in small ways. But for the most part, that's not how people, quote unquote, make money on the stock market. Instead, you put in your money to the company. They give you a little thing called stock that is worthless. It is a piece of paper that says something on it. But if you were to try to turn that in for money, it's not worth anything. The only way you make money from it is by convincing someone else that that's what that piece of paper is worth. It's meaningless unless you convince someone else, which is how a Ponzi scheme works. Anyway, my whole point is like, yes, we're in a giant bubble. Yes, it could go burst at any moment. This bubble, by the way, if you look at the numbers, is far bigger than the dot-com bubble that collapsed a lot of our economy back in 99 and into 2000. Far bigger. And yet we're just skating along, acting like it makes sense. We're also in another kind of bubble where our country owes, quote unquote, $37 trillion. And yet we just, it's fine. It's fine. What's $37 trillion between a couple of folks? Well, not a big deal. And why does the U.S. dollar continue to have any worth when a country owes $37 trillion? How does that fucking work? Well, it's still premised on the petrodollar. The U.S. needs that petroleum to keep flowing in US dollars or that whole thing is done. And they don't want you to think about that much.